into another tale of the tape as we size up the Vikings versus some of the other NFC contenders. But let's talk about Federated for just a brief moment. Thank you to Federated for helping power Purple Daily and other things within the Score North umbrella. Federated is here to help business owners in the Twin Cities. Crazy last 3 months with everything going on, and it just helps to have that peace of mind and that frontline protection of Federated Insurance. You can go to federatedinsurance.com to get a full list of trusted resources you may need for your business. You can also get a hold of your marketing representative, too, and have an actual conversation. At Federated Mutual Insurance Company, it's our business to protect yours. And gentlemen, Bill Mackey, Judd Zulgad, Declan Goff producing. As we continue through our Tale of the Tape series here, looking at the teams in the NFC North and also other teams around the NFC, and maybe even before it's all said and done, teams in the AFC that the Vikings might run into in their journey. Just saying.
Are you getting cocky?
Mackey.
Just saying. I need to see a little bit more from that defense and see what happens with Dalvin Cook. But
Patriots.
Today's, I don't know. I don't think they're going to be on that
I
list.
was kidding. I was joking. I'd go
Chiefs for
Vikings.
Sure. Tale of the tape today, Vikings or Packers? And we're going to go through a few different categories and eventually get to a total team. Which one would you take? But let's start with quarterback tale of the tape, Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers. Go. Judd again.
Aaron Rodgers, not by as much as I would have said in a slam dunk about 3 years back. But if I have a choice of those two quarterbacks and I have and I give Aaron an offense that I'm confident in, which I'm not sure receiver-wise that he's there with what's going to be the Packers offense in 2020, I am going to go with Aaron over Kirk still. That's the one quarterback in this division that I can confidently say. I still think he's not the quarterback that he was previously. I still think right now it'd be unfair not to call him the best quarterback in the division.
Okay. Declan?
As our old friend Matthew Collar used to call Aaron Rodgers, Washy McWasherson, I am taking Kirk Cousins over Aaron Rodgers. And a year ago, I would have said Rodgers in a slam dunk. It's not even close. I don't know what Green Bay is doing. Judd brings up a good point. If you put Rodgers in the right system, it's without a doubt still Aaron Rodgers over Kirk Cousins. But I look at the Packers offense, and I really don't understand what they're doing with Aaron Lazard being their number one option. I do think Aaron Jones is a capable back. We'll get into that later. But if you're just looking at sizing up the quarterbacks, I do think I would take Kirk Cousins over Aaron Rodgers, especially after what Kirk did last year.
So I am not ready to go that far. I'm taking Aaron Rodgers, and I get it. Like, you look at some of the different. Let's start with Pro Football Focus. Okay, they graded quarterbacks in this order last year. Ryan Tannehill was number one, which is a little suspicious. He had a great year, but like, he ain't the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
I trust PFF, but I would almost look at that and say, all right, let's go back and rewatch those games and just see.
Mm-hmm.
Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, Kirk Cousins was 4th. Aaron Rodgers was 11th. And that also includes, like, Taysom Hill only threw a few passes. So Aaron, if you take away the guys who didn't qualify for like a passing title or whatever, Rodgers is like 9th or 10th in the NFL behind Derek Carr, Matthew Stafford, and Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. So there are credible measurements that will tell you that just based on the film, Kirk Cousins had a better season last year than Aaron Rodgers. I'm still taking, like, if you're telling me, all right, man, your livelihood is on the line, right, and you have to pick one quarterback for right now, tomorrow, it's Aaron Rodgers for me still. The other thing about Rodgers, too, is he has only thrown a maximum of 8 interceptions in any single season going back to 2010. Here are his interception totals: 6, 8, 6, 5, 8, 7, 6, 2, and 4. Now, in some of those years, you get the upside of 40 touchdown passes with like 5 interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
The last couple years, my criticism would be I think Aaron Rodgers has become more obsessed with not throwing an interception than he is with doing something Brett Favre-like at the top. So my main criticism would be, yes, like, he's great at not giving away games, but is he too obsessed with not throwing interceptions to where he's not making throws that he should make?
Is that because in his old age, Rodgers has become more conservative, or is that because his receivers aren't as good and he knows it and he doesn't trust them like he did Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, those guys? Because I think it might be a combination. Again, I'd be very curious what would happen with him if you gave him 3 receivers or even 2 that he could completely trust.
I mean,
I think he's become concerned about screw ups by them, and I guess I can't blame
but
him.
are we out on Devontae Adams? Devontae Adams has become one
No,
of the
but
best
he's the
receivers in
one.
the NFL too.
He is very good, but he's the one, right?
I just think if you have a Devontae Adams on, Tom Brady had nothing. Like Julian Edelman is a slot, 8-yard route receiver.
Aaron Rodgers had Jimmy Graham, damn it, who was only
and
78
now the Bears
years
have
old.
him.
Yeah.
Great. So all right. So Judd and I go Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
and Declan goes with Kirk Cousins. And just to wrap this part of the tail of the tape, the fact that it is not absurd to suggest Kirk Cousins in 2020 kind of shows you where Kirk Cousins had his best season ever, maybe last year, and Aaron Rodgers had a good season, but not what we've seen 5 years ago. So it's not totally absurd.
Mhm.
All right, tail of the tape, head coach, Matt LaFleur or Mike Zimmer? Who are you taking?
Mike Zimmer. LaFleur is a year in. I still don't know. I get very nervous, might not be the right word. I get very suspicious of this is a great young coach and he's got a great offensive mind. I mean, which might all be true. I don't know.
He's friends with Sean McVay on Facebook.
But if you come to me right now and say, give me a coach to coach these players up for one game, I'm not going LaFleur first. So I go Zim, partially in LaFleur's defense. I go Zim because of the unknown still. I need to see at least 2 years, if not a bit more, of Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, I think Mike Zimmer's a phenomenal coach, probably the best in the division, obviously. And Matt LaFleur has potential, obviously, to enter the reins as one of the league's best coaches. I think he did a pretty solid job last year, but he was far from perfect, too. So he has potential to rise, but if you're asking me right now, it's still Mike Zimmer over Matt
How dare
LaFleur.
you dump on Matt Patricia?
Oh, yeah. Can't you sit up straight a little
Yeah,
bit?
sit up straight. Sit up
Have some
straight. Hold on.
respect for the
Wait.
process.
Good point.
Thank you.
Sorry, I wasn't sitting up straight.
When a man who looks like he's
Now let's
eating
go outside and
lunch out of a
practice for an indoor
garbage
game.
can. Yeah.
It's only December.
So Matt LaFleur, a little known fact about Matt LaFleur, he was actually assigned when he was with the Washington Redskins between 2010 and 13 as the quarterbacks coach. One of his main responsibilities was to help mentor a young Kirk Cousins and
Okay.
RG3. So there is a Kirk Cousins connection with LaFleur. The answer is Mike Zimmer. He's the better, more established coach right now. And obviously LaFleur deserves a ton of credit for helping coach a 13-3 Packers team. We knock on the Packers because they just got smoked by the 49ers and they look like a fraudulent 13-3 team. And so, well, we can definitely say, yeah, that was smoke and mirrors. They weren't 13-3 good. Well, the fact that Matt LaFleur helped create smoke and mirrors to lead them to a 13-3 record means that he's one to watch here. But I think I keep going back to, all right, Aaron Rodgers deserves the most credit of pretty much anyone in Green Bay, right? Like, he's just one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And would Matt LaFleur have this job if he wasn't associated with Sean McVay in Los Angeles in 2017? He was the offensive coordinator.
That's a list
under
of
Sean
guys,
McVay.
Phil.
Great question.
That's an entire list
So-
of guys. The Bengals coach, the Packers coach.
So I think he deserves. Listen, LaFleur is a good head coach, and I think he's going to wind up probably proving that he is a good hire in Green Bay. But a lot of the hype surrounding him is because he was, standing next to Sean McVay in team meetings. And
Did you
and such.
absorb what he said?
Mike Zimmer has a track record of being a really good defensive coach. So all right, so we all agree there. Mike Zimmer, do we all agree on Mike Zimmer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Total offense, tail of the tape, Vikings or Packers?
I'm going to so here's the curveball. I would take the Packers offensive line over the Vikings. Left tackle is superior.
They give me Bakhtiari.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this does give me cause to pause and think about it. But if we're talking about skill position on offense, Packers have a very good running back. I think the Vikings is better. I think the Vikings still have a better, array of receivers. I like the Vikings tight end, starting with Irv Smith Jr. This is a very close call. And I don't mean for it to come off as a homer call, but I'm going to go Vikings here more so based on total skill position players. Very close, though.
Okay.
I think it's incredibly close. I give the offensive line definitely the advantage of the Packers. I don't think Aaron Jones is that far off from being Dalvin Cook. I think Aaron Jones is a really, really good running back. And that's someone who loves to poo-poo on the Packers and throw a bunch of stuff at them. But I think Aaron Jones is just as good as Dalvin Cook. So I'd say that's honestly a push. I really do. I think he's just as good as Dalvin Cook. He's mostly shown he can stay healthy. He's been involved in the passing game. I'm a big fan of them. The receivers, again, are basically dead even. You have Devontae Adams on the Packers side. You have Adam Thielen on the Vikings. And then everyone else, it's pretty much the same. I would say I'd probably lean Vikings, but it's like, no joke, 51-49. Like, it is as close as it gets. I think these offenses are very, very similar.
Aaron Jones is really good. I'm all right. Let's just go through them here. I take Aaron Rodgers over Kirk Cousins. I take the Packers offensive line over the Vikings offensive line.
But you'll take Dalvin Cook.
I take Dalvin Cook over Aaron Jones.
Yep.
But the quarterback and the offensive line are the two most important things. And if I'm giving those two grades to the Packers, if Adam Thielen and Devontae Adams kind of cancel out, what do the Vikings have? The Vikings lost Stephon. Now, you could say the Vikings lost Stephon Diggs, but added a first-round high-talent receiver. The Packers did nothing to help their passing game in the draft.
And also, keep in mind, the Vikings' offensive line is actually fine at run blocking.
Sure.
So if the pass protection with Cleveland possibly playing now goes up a tick, so the Vikings' offensive line in protecting Cousins, to me, has not been sufficient, but they actually did come up with a scheme that could run block in 2019.
Yeah, just in terms of offensive line tail to tape, on the pass blocking side, the Green Bay Packers were ranked 4th, according to Pro Football Focus, in pass protection behind just Baltimore, New Orleans, and Philadelphia. But I give the edge offensively to Rodgers, Packers offensive line, wide receivers. Let's just say it's kind of a wash because both have a number 1 and then some question marks behind it. I take the Vikings running back over the Packers running back.
Tight ends.
Vikings tight end set, but I think because offensive line and quarterback are more important, I give the slight edge to the Packers offensively.
Fair.
But then I guess the other layer on top of this is Gary Kubiak's scheme,
right? And
getting everything to play together. And if a running back goes down, Vikings have Alex Madison. So, but again, I'm going to give like a 52-48. I'm going to cut the pie in half and give 52% of it to the Packers.
And once Jordan Love starts, it's all over for the Vikings because he'll be outstanding because he'll fit in perfectly with the LaFleur scheme.
Yeah, it's going to be great. 20 years of more quarterback dominance.
And that's when Aaron will be playing for the Vikings.
That's going to be so much fun. When Aaron Rodgers is playing,
Aaron Rodgers,
2023.
It has
39-year-old
It
Rodgers.
does have to happen, right?
Yes.
It's 100% happening.
Yes.
All right. Total defense. Tail of the tape. Vikings or Packers?
I'm going to go Vikings. Now, the cornerbacks, they concern me now here. Previously, I think I would have gone with the Vikings even quicker. But the Vikings still have Hunter. They still have Kendricks. Barr is not a bad player. I don't think he's as effective as we thought he might be by this point in his career, but that does not make him a bad player. The Vikings have 2 outstanding safeties. I think if I had to take a defense, I like enough of how the Vikings defense is built that I'm still going to take them.
I think both Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith probably do have an advantage over the Vikings defensive line right now, and that's with Minnesota having Danielle Hunter. I think in general, the Packers have a better front up 4 to get to the quarterback than the Vikings do right now. But as Judd points out, I think there's too many good personnel like Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris and Eric Kendricks, and you have a defensive-minded head coach who can scheme around things. Let's not forget that the Vikings, who defense took a little bit of a step back last year, they're still 5th in points allowed. So they were still a pretty good defense. So until then, I'm going to have to lean Vikings on it.
So the Packers started the year off. The narrative was, wow, the defense is fixed. Right. This is it. And the Packers did have a really good start to the year defensively last year. But then they tailed off, and they actually wound up bottom 10 in terms of yards per play allowed. The Packers defense allowed almost 6 yards per play last year, and they couldn't stop the run. They were just a sieve when stopping the run. The one thing I will say about the Packers, and you guys kind of alluded to it, they do have a very good pass rush, and Zadarius Smith led the NFL in pressures last year, just ahead of Danielle Hunter, who was number 2 on that list. So you could say the Packers do have someone to maybe help cancel out Danielle Hunter in this tail of the tape, but I'm still going to trust those pillar players that Declan mentioned at every level of the Vikings defense, and I give a slight edge, maybe a little bit more than a slight edge. I give the Packers a very slight edge offensively. I give the Vikings a little bit more of an edge defensively in this one, which brings us to total team.
Just quickly, if I could peel one player off the Packer defense and take him, Kenny Clark.
Okay.
Interior pressure, 6
I'll
sacks.
take Zadarius Smith and just put him on the other side. But
dude, I got 12 sacks over the past 2 years from a defensive tackle. The exact type of interior push that I think drives teams crazy in 2020.
So which team gets your tail of the tape advantage here? Overall team,
Well,
Packers or Vikings?
Just went complete homer with the Vikings, and I do agree with both of you guys and Declan saying that the offense is incredibly close. I guess I have to go Vikings. I went with the Vikings for everything in tail of the tape, and I don't think that the edges are mammoth. But if you were to give me an organization right now, and the quarterback I still think is good, but he is definitely closer to the end of his career than the start, I'm probably going Vikings just for the pieces that I could take from that team. So to be clear, this is incredibly close. This is not a Vikings by a mile, but tail of the tape team-wise, I would go Vikings.
Yeah, I'm going to have to
Which
go
I'm so
Vikes.
surprised with.
I would go Vikes too. I think just what they were able to do in the draft, and I think their trajectory is more sustainable than what the Packers have been doing. I think Aaron Rodgers is getting old. They didn't address the weapons. There's some friction there that some think they smoke or fire. I'm going to have to give the Vikings. I think there's more stability there, and I think they have a better chance to win the division than Green Bay.
All right, I'm going slight edge Packers.
Okay.
I'm going to make the Vikings prove it in 2020. Maybe they do in week 1, and I can change my answer. I'm not wearing the full-on cheese head here, but as long as they've got Aaron Rodgers, and like we can sit here and we can bash them for being a fraudulent 13-3 team, but ultimately one of these teams squeezed more toothpaste out of the tube than the other, and that would have been the Green Bay Packers last year.
The loss that the Vikings suffered here to the Packers in December did bother me because it was an ass kicking.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was basically Green Bay taking over and dominating that game at times. So if I was to lean towards what Phil is saying, that game definitely would influence me. But I gotta agree with Declan. I sense a little acrimony in Green Bay. I sense it's not all going to be real smooth, and I think the quarterback thing is not going to go well. And I'm just very curious to see how a second-year head coach is going to sort of keep things together in the face of that.
Yeah, how you can sit there with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and not give him a weapon in the first round, but instead try to find his replacement by stretching to draft that player is beyond me. But hey, you're a Vikings fan?
Oh, you love it.
Good news. The Packers did nothing in the first round.
Thank you.
So, all right, that's a wrap on this episode of Purple Daily. Please give us a 5-star rating and a positive review if you could.
Go Lions.
On Apple. Stop. Mute his microphone.
Lions have the edge.
We'll do that one at some point here. Vikings or Lions. And we'll also do Vikings Saints and some other tales of the tape. See you next time.